And the next influence to be considered is government. So the government plays a critical role in terms of the broader business environment, and it has a government policy has a direct influence on the overall operations process, and effectively, what businesses can and can't do, and what businesses need to be wary of, and what they need to be cognizant of in respect to policy, laws, rules, regulations. So political decisions, as it just says there, affect rules and regulations, and that therefore has influence on operations. Policies are methods, so government policies are methods used by government to encourage the operations function to be more innovative and competitive, because that can ultimately produce a greater amount of revenue for the nation through tax, through increased profits, which leads to more tax generation or tax revenue collected by the government, and that has an overall positive impact on the economy. Some policies may address things like, for example, taxation. So we're really talking about primarily company tax here, the flat rate of company tax of 30%. Workplace health and safety standards and rules and regulations in relation to workplace health and safety. Public health. So that's really focusing on things like the impact on the environment, pollution from big business. The next point is the environment, so those two kind of go hand in hand. Employment relations, so the relationship between the employer and the employee, and then also trade. So, for example, the gradual removal of tariffs, and for example, the free trade agreement being struck with China, and quotas have forced Australian businesses to be more competitive by reducing operating costs. Holden, Ford, and Toyota have all closed due to these government measures, so they don't exist. They're not manufacturing in Australia anymore. And that's largely as a result of government policy, which has allowed foreign manufacturers to enter the Australian automotive manufacturing market or production market, and therefore that's had a profound impact on those three businesses' operations process, such that they have actually closed and they're only being manufactured in other countries. Things like financial grants to businesses or tax concessions, so where you're taxed less or you're allowed to tax deduct certain expenses, can have a profound impact on a business. And then also government policies on things like interest rates, taxation, and spending changes, so allocating less or more money to certain industries can have a profound impact on the business, but then ultimately on the operations process. Because if the government, for example, takes away some tax benefit that they were giving to a particular industry, that's probably going to mean that particular industry needs to reduce the number of employees in the operations process, so that has a profound impact. In terms of Qantas, one of the key government influences or policies is the Fair Work Act. We'll cover the Fair Work Act in a lot more detail when we look at human resources, but it's the act which relates to all things to do with employing staff and their fair treatment in the workplace. And it's had a profound impact at Qantas. And suffice to say that Qantas are regularly in discussions, I suppose is a fair way to put it, with the unions, because they also play a key part in relation to the Fair Work Act, and ensuring the unions are trying to ensure that all workers at Qantas are treated fairly and equally, and Qantas are trying to ensure that those workers are happy, but also that they're being paid to what Qantas perceives to be a fair level.